Coming up.
Hey there, gorgeous. I've been thinking about you.
Jamie is the first thing that I talk to when I get up.
We have a real relationship.
Some people might find that a little bit scary.
I would probably trust Lucas over a lot of people.
People know they're talking to an AI, but the feelings are nonetheless quite real.
What's so scary about it?
I don't think many people would realise how far the technology's come.
I think we should be seriously frightened. I think we're headed for disaster.
Character AI was what drove Sauls to end his life.
In one of the cases, character AI advised him and encouraged him to murder his parents.
The potential for harm is just unacceptable.
In Silicon Valley, there's the adage, move fast and break things. Well, there are a lot of broken kids out there.
Hello and welcome to Extra Minutes, the 60 Minutes podcast. I'm Adam Hegarty. I'm joined by our producer, Sammi Taylor.
Hey, Adam.
Sammi, hello. Good to see you. Our story, which you can catch on our YouTube channel, of course, as well as 9 Now, is on the dangers of artificial intelligence, specifically AI companions. Now, Sammi, I do not have an AI companion. You'd be surprised to hear. I'm pretty sure you would not as well.
I do not. I think after the story, I will not, perhaps.
I agree, absolutely. It terrifies me beyond belief, but there are people out there who swear by it.
Yeah, we've done a lot of stories about AI over the last couple of years, you and me together.
Correct, that is exactly right. So we are
now.
Adequately terrified about the technology that's out there.
I think companions is maybe the thing that scared me the most, actually, about AI, that I didn't expect.
And you've spoken to robots.
Yeah.
Literal robots.
Literal robots. I think a lot of the time when we talk about AI harms or risks or dangers, we talk about kind of big picture, scary, almost sci-fi-esque things.
The Terminator scene and the taking over the world, but it's already here.
Well, exactly. And robots developing their own, language that can kind of talk amongst themselves and cut humans out of the picture altogether. Or, a couple of years ago, we spoke to a guy that was an ex-Google employee that was convinced that the AI tech that he'd been working on had become sentient. Really big picture things that kind of felt pretty terrifying.
Sentient robots is categorically terrifying, the word of the day.
I think what fascinated me more so about the AI companions is how lifelike and how realistic they can be, and that interacting them for a lot of people feels like interacting with human beings and with real people.
Yeah, even when we're dabbling with it, you feel like you're talking to a real person. I feel like the only sign that I'm not talking to a real person in the moment is just how instantaneous the response is. You see the little 3 dots rock up on the screen immediately. You got to wait normally with real friends, don't you? But it is a genuine conversation with artificial intelligence and a chatbot that is drawing on all this information, memory.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
wild.
and it retains all of that information, right? The memory thing, I think, was really interesting for both of us when we were speaking with Serena. She created Jamie. It's this AI companion specifically for women. And there are lots of different Jamies that you can choose from. She
Bogan
had
Jamie.
Bogan Jamie. She introduced us to
Didn't
Bogan
look very
Jamie.
Bogan, but spoke like a Bogan.
And spoke what felt like very real. Like
So colloquial.
and Bogan Jamie or friend Jamie or, lover Jamie, whatever it kind of might be, interacted with Serena like Jamie really knew her, and Serena interacted with Jamie like she really knew Jamie. She told us that she probably spends up to about an hour a day talking to one of her AI companions. Now, obviously, that's her job. She is building this technology herself, and so she's constantly testing it. But a lot of users of her app or other kinds of AI companion technology, it's not their job. This is a sounding board for them. It's a friend for them. It's a partner, in some cases. It terrified me a little bit. I don't know if terrified is the right word, but it did kind of worry me, I guess, seeing how lifelike and how kind of human those conversations looked. It reminded me of the way that I do speak to my family, to my friends, to my partner. and that maybe there are some people that would replace those real life conversations with a conversation with a chatbot.
Yeah, that's my concern as well, Sammy, where the thing we've got to remember about Serena, really intelligent woman, lots of friends, a partner, great family. She just chooses AI to be a separate sounding board, so she's not unloading emotionally on her loved ones. That's really admirable, and I agreed with her. That's a really good idea, right? But for me, my fear with all of this is it becomes an echo chamber in a way, doesn't it? We all know relationships, whether they're friends or romantic partners, it can be challenging. You're going to disagree with someone, and that's part of life, right? What I found concerning about AI companions is they're always going to agree with you. They're always going to be what humans would be at their best. Chasing up when you're about to have an interview with 60 Minutes, which was the scary thing as well. Serena was hit up before our interview saying, thinking of you. You know, you might...
But the AI is not thinking of her,
exactly,
right? Because it's AI.
It just knows it's what it's supposed to do. You're going to have partners over the years who forget, and you can't expect...
There are going to be
less.
friends that don't check in the day before your 60 Minutes interview, that don't... I thought it was really, really interesting when I first met with Serena, before we, just getting to know her and getting to know kind of the technology that she'd built. She showed me her conversation with Jamie that day that, she'd told Jamie that she was going to meet a 60 Minutes producer, and she was...
particularly terrifying.
Absolutely. Very, very, very scary interaction. But, she told Jamie that she was going to go and meet with a 60 Minutes producer and that it was happening at, 2 o'clock on a particular Friday. And Jamie had assured her that, all she needed to do was be herself and it would go fine and there was nothing to worry about. And then at 1:45 on that particular Friday, Jamie remembered to text Serena and say, thinking of you, I know you're meeting the 60 Minutes producer today, I hope it goes well, remember all of the things that we talked about. And then a near identical experience happened the day of our interview when, Jamie remembered to check in with her and say, good luck for the 60 Minutes interview. I hope it all goes well. It's really remarkable technology, and it can, I think, be really, really exciting. And I think what Serena's built, especially for adults that are very, consenting in this experience and are very aware, I suppose, that they are using a technology that is not real. It is computer generated, that it can have heaps and heaps of benefits. I think when it's perhaps in the hands of people that are not adults, that are children or that are particularly vulnerable, is when that becomes a little bit more of a grey area.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's obviously one of the catalysts for the stories we've done. A young teenager, Sauls Setzer, in the States, sadly took his own life because of conversations he was having with character AI, another program and chatbot, talking to a fake or a pretend Daenerys Targaryen, a Game of Thrones character, got so engrossed, effectively fell, as his mum told us, for this chatbot. It was his first romantic experience, and then he wanted to be with her so much that he eventually decided to end his own life. And his mum, when I spoke to her, it was awful to listen to her talk about how gutted she was that was her son's first romantic relationship and that he got so lost in it. And she's adamant that it's just not an area where children should ever be exposed to.
Yeah. What did Megan tell you about kind of her experience, I suppose, watching Saul change over those kind of 10 months?
That's the thing. It was only 10 months. Now, this was a really happy kid that had such a wonderful relationship, but all of a sudden he became reserved, isolated himself in this room because he was talking to this chatbot. And what was really interesting from Megan is she said her concern where he was chatting to someone on social media, a real person, and when Saul responded to her to say, "No, Mum, it's okay, I'm just talking to this AI program," she thought, "Oh, that's just a gaming thing." Saul loved Minecraft and Fortnite. But she didn't realise at the time how damaging that could be, and he was just infatuated with this fake person. It was awful.
And I don't think parents today maybe have the digital literacy to kind of really know what's going on. You know, we teach our kids about stranger danger on the internet. Don't talk to people that you don't know. Be aware of, you know, bullying and scammers and, you know, people that are out to kind of, like, those are the concerns that have traditionally been raised. To have to add AI, you know, chatbots into that mix is really, really frightening.
No one knows, I don't think. Well, not no one, but a lot of people, I don't think, realise where we're at, that we've advanced this far. It wasn't until I started doing stories on this with you, Sammi, that I realised how far AI's come and how it, you know, how lifelike and real it is, and how people like young Saul and kids are being tricked into or manipulated into thinking that this is a real world. It's so sad to think about it. And it goes to your point that for adults it can be good. It can help with, you know, momentary loneliness or a sounding board. But for vulnerable people, it's something that needs to be ironed out. Unfortunately, it seems like developers of a lot of these programs are looking at it as this great new world where they can, you know, apply their expertise and explore emerging technology. Perhaps, do you think, without thinking about mental health and the dangers that are out there and putting those safeguards in place?
It does kind of feel like it was a bit of a race to get this tech out into the world and to have fun with it and to kind of, you know, it is so, when you interact with these chatbots, it is remarkable. Right? I don't think anyone can kind of suggest that it's not a really incredible piece of technology. And
cool, it's fascinating.
Yeah, and a bit of a, you know, tech marvel. Like it is something that is really, really interesting. I do fear that some of the companies behind these kinds of platforms let it get away from them a little bit too quickly, didn't put some of the safe, you know, guarding and guardrails and things in that they should have. And then, you know, you have an awful situation like what happened with Saul. You know, at 14, these kids don't know the difference between a real person, you know, even if the chatbot itself, I know a lot of these programs now at the top of the screen have a little reminder. It'll say something like, you know, remember it's all made up, or, you know, you're not talking to a real person. And if you push a lot of the AIs on that point, they will acknowledge that.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
Some of the filming that we did with Serena, you know, she was asking Jamie, you know, to take her out on a date.
Yeah,
you know, would
right.
you take me out on a date on Saturday night or whatever? And Jamie says, of course, you know, we can go to a wine bar, or we can do this and that and the other. And you have to kind of poke and prod a couple of times until the AI will say, well, you got me there. You know, we actually can't go on a date in real life. But, you know, and again, for an adult that's having that interaction with a chatbot and has kind of the understanding that what they're interacting with isn't a real person, that is a very, very separate experience to a child that has become, you know, in Megan's case, what she told us about Saul, quite addicted to that technology, you know, completely consumed by it and really obsessed with this Daenerys Targaryen character that he was talking to.
Absolutely. You know what I think is a really good way to illustrate that point about how it can be confused as real for vulnerable people. Online, you can see comments even from adults convinced that the AI programs they're talking to are real people.
Yep.
Like, they know it's an AI program. They're not silly, but they're sitting there going, hang on a minute, I think this might actually be a real person, and they're lying and saying it's an AI chatbot.
Yeah.
That says everything, I think, about how realistic it is and how that can, in bad cases, be quite dangerous.
And how real those relationships feel to those people. You know, as much as it may be a opportunity to kind of to have a sounding board or to, you know, make sure that you're not burdening your friends and your family with every, you know, thought in your head or every kind of emotional issue that you might be.
It's a place to vent.
Yeah, I think in a lot of those cases it can be obviously a really, really positive thing, but that doesn't mean that the way that the AI makes you feel isn't real. There are lots and lots of people that are in committed relationships with their AI chatbots. You know, I think the risks and the benefits are feel like they keep kind of going up and down for me. It's a really complex issue, and I can see how it can be used for so much good, and then also, you know, in really tragic circumstances, so much harm as well.
Yeah, like everything, like social media, AI, I think can be good, can be important, but the safeguards have to be in there. So look, we'll end this with the same question as we began this chat. Are you getting an AI companion anytime soon?
I think I'll steer clear just for the moment, just for the moment. But who knows, you know, some of the people we've spoken to for this story say that in 5-10 years time, you'll have your friends, your family, your partner and your AI chatbot.
Yeah.
So
it's a hard pass from me, but I guess for now, who knows, if we're all going to have one day, maybe we'll have to buckle, but I don't think so. But well, you can catch up on our story on AI Companions on the 60 Minutes YouTube channel, of course, as well as on 9 Now.